Good morning. Welcome to our Donna Day / Pet Memorial Service. My name is Naomi Kaneko, and I will be your MC this morning. We will begin with the ringing of the temple bell or kancho that signifies the beginning of a temple service. It is a deep and sacred ritual steeped in ancient tradition. It is the calling of the people to come together to listen to the Dharma or teachings. The temple bell represents the gratitude and deep appreciation of the members, friends, and guests of the Windward Buddhist Temple. Please sit quietly in your seat. Please rise for the meditation, followed by the chanting of the Vandana and Tisarana in Pali and English on page 7 in the red Jodo Shinshu service book. Please be seated. Aspirations by Reverend Barbara.
On this Dana Day, let us remember that loving words will cost but little, journeying up the hill of life, but they make the weak and weary stronger, braver for the strife. So, as life's hill we journey, let us scatter all the way kindly words to be as sunshine in the dark and cloudy day. At the Windward Buddhist Temple, we also observe this day as a memorial for our animal companions. Pets are Buddhas and Bodhisattvas because they teach the 6 paramitas: selfless giving, dana; virtuous and ethical conduct, sila; patience, ksanti; effort, virya; meditation and concentration, dhyana; and wisdom, prajna. Pets teach unconditional love and giving selflessly and are non-judgmental. They also teach us about impermanence, and often a pet's death is the first experience that we as children encounter with mortality. So we thank all the pets that came across in our life from early childhood to adulthood for teaching us so many life lessons and how to live a better life. Namo Amida Butsu. Namo Amida Butsu. Namo Amida Butsu.
Thank you, Sensei, for that reminder. Today is the remembrance of pets who have passed away. Sensei will hit the gong to start this portion of the service. Then the names of the deceased pets will be called. Please come forward to offer incense. After the last name is called, Reverend Barbara will hit the gong several times. Then she will go directly into the sutra Jun Nirai in the red Jodo Shinshu service book on page 60. Tofu and Thumper Miyamoto. Sparky Yamamoto. Coconut and Missy Tashiro. Inca and Tax Kaneko. Wizzy Goto. Suki Arakaki. Brownie Wasai. Shaggy Tashiro. Sophie Henry Gordon Onyx Lopes. Satchel the Pug Jaffe.
Keishu Tenin Shokugyo Amida Senyo Sokuson Zai Himi Meo Arako Muryo Bushi Shuinu Konji Kishinjo Nyoseno Shamata Gyozo Zobu Ryo 조약 쇼랭게 고가 조라이 미라손 넨제넨 조뇨망가스 이고 유뇨세니지가 쇼뇨텐구구시라 고가 조라이 미라손 환원 조라이 한주주 슈주 멜소 쇼곤 노부그게로 마켈만 고가 조라이 미라손 무비무쿠 고쇼조 슈토쿠 케우케스뇨코쿠 쇼사리야쿠 토쿠지사이 고가 조라이 미라손 지포묘몽보사슈 무료쇼마조사단 이쇼슈조간리기주 고가 조라이 미라손 본타이호 켄시쇼케 젠몬 쇼조 멜다이사 오이사 조뇨센노 고가 조라이 미라손 지포조라이 쇼구시 겐겐진수시아나 생고송겐조구교 고가 조라이 미라손 쇼무조무가토 야구뇨 수이가스덴요로 이슈세포 무묘지 고가 조라이 미라손 이성부세수무아구뇨 야구무뇨니 아구로구 주님 시신 교이선 고가 조라이 미라손 이성무료 호맹교 무쇼슈 아구지시 오조부달 시모다이 고가 조라이 미라손 가세수히 son kudokuji shuzen muhen nyohai suri shogyaku zengon Nama Tabu
Please rise for the recitation of homages in the same red Jodo Shinshu service book on page 2. Hard it is to be born into human life. Now we are living in it. Difficult it is to hear the teachings of the Blessed One. Now we hear them. If we do not gain emancipation in this present life, we may not be free from ill-faring in the ocean of births and deaths for kalpas. Let us reverently take refuge in the three treasures.
We go to the Buddha for guidance. May we always walk in the way that leads to enlightenment. We go to the Dharma for guidance. May we be submerged in the depths of the teachings and gain wisdom as deep as the ocean. We go to the Sangha for guidance. May we all with one accord live the life of harmony in the spirit of oneness, free from the bondage of selfishness.
Even through myriads of kalpas, hard it is to hear such excellent and profound teachings. Now we are able to hear and receive them. Let us try to understand the Tathagata's teachings.
Namo Amida Butsu. Namo Amida Butsu.
Please continue to stand for the Gatha Golden Chain of Love on the handout.
Yes,
Please be seated. This morning, our speaker for this Donna Day / Pet Memorial Service is Mrs. Sharon Sekine. Sensei, will you please introduce?
Good morning, everyone. Good morning. It's such a treat to have my good friend Sharon Sekine talk about Donna Day for us today. It's been a while, I think, since I've heard Sharon give a talk, but she was always very active, still is, I believe, in the Buddhist Women's Association and at our own temple. She's volunteered at Hawaii Betsuin for many, many years. So I feel like we're really lucky. I'm glad she said yes. She got nervous, just like we all do when we have to speak, But I'm so happy that she came, and she came with her wonderful husband, Dennis, otherwise known as Dan Seki. And because she came, our other friends that are here, I'd like to introduce you to them before Sharon gives her talk. Amy Hirohata Goto, Irene Ida, you could wave, yeah. Her husband Mel Ida, Roy Umori, and his wife Wendy Umori, who's also very, very active at Betsuin. They all are. And Wendy and Irene and Amy are all, along with Sharon, are all still very involved with Project Donna Dancers. And I'm not sure if Sharon includes that in her talk, but it's a wonderful group. Okay, that said, we welcome Sharon.
Good morning. Before I start my message, I just wanted to tell you that this is my very first pet memorial service, and it was really a very, very nice and beautiful experience. And actually, I thought about we didn't put our pet's name down, but I do want to acknowledge we had a pet bunny a long time ago, and our kids were little. So, and it was very, very difficult after he passed away, especially for my daughter. I mean, she was very, very, very affected by it. Pets give their owners so much love and joy and comfort with their unconditional love and constant companionship. So that's why I thought about our daughter who lives in California, and she has 2 rescue cats. And they just show their affection and love in so many different ways. And even though we don't live there, we can feel the love that they give her. And like one cat will sleep on her chest if she lays down on the couch, and they'll nap together. The other cat, while my daughter is sitting on the couch, he'll wrap himself around her chest and her neck, and then he'll sleep behind her like that, And they sit next to her and are often near her within arm's length. And then sometimes one of them will put his paws on her, either on her face or on her hand, just to be next to her, And they often, whenever she's out, they run to her, as soon as she comes in, and it's nice for her to have them greet her like that. So, this close relationship and affection between the animals and their owners, is such a strong bond. So I can really understand the pain and sadness people feel when their pets pass away. And this service was really nice, and I commend you folks for doing this nice service that helps to console the owners and bring some closure to them. So thank you for sharing this experience with me. So as Reverend Barbara told you, we've been friends for many years, I think over 40 years, I think, because we met when we brought our children to Dharma school, so it's been that long, yeah. And I really thank her, and I thank all of you for the privilege and the honor to speak with you this morning. I hope do justice to Donna Day, but anyway, when she asked me in November of last year, I told her, oh, okay, well, I have to think about it. So I was really hesitant to do this talk, but I felt, well, she is my good friend, and I can't say no, so I finally said, okay. So I just wanted, because I wasn't sure whether I had anything profound to share with you about Donna, because I think you all know what Donna is. But I just want to share my feelings, my understandings of what Dana means. So as you all know, Dana is a Sanskrit word meaning selfless giving, giving or sharing with others with no strings attached and with no expectations of receiving anything in return. I'd like to share how Dana is explained in this well, actually, I should say, I'd like to share how Dana, or offering, is explained for Mahayana Buddhism. And it comes from what I read in this little book called Learning the Wisdom of Enlightenment, which is a publication by Bukkyo Dendo Kyokai, or BDK. In Mahayana Buddhism, there are 6 practices, or as we know them, 6 paramitas, for reaching the other shore of enlightenment. The most important and first practice is offering to others, or dana. Excuse me. It is an offering that Mahayana Buddhists, should be practicing on a daily basis. Okay. It is important that this offering is done without any sense of pride or vanity. As it is explained in the Mahaparinirvana Sutra, quote, "If one gives away a gift when it is convenient to do so, or because it is easier to give than not to give, it is an offering, of course, but it is not a true offering. A true offering comes from a sympathetic heart before any request is made. It is not a true offering if after the act there are feelings of regret or self-praise. A true offering is one that is given with pleasure, forgetting not only oneself as the giver, but also the one who receives it, as well as the gift itself. A true offering springs spontaneously from one's pure, compassionate heart, with no thought of any return," unquote. There are 3 kinds of offerings in the 6 paramitas. They are material offerings, which are money or goods; dharma offerings, which involves sharing of the Buddha's teaching and knowledge with others; and offerings of fear elimination, which is to eliminate anxieties and fears by standing with suffering people, listening to their problems, and staying with them to the end. The offering of fear elimination is surely the most important and best kind of offering. To illustrate a true offering or true dana, I'd like to share a few stories that have made the news recently. So please bear with me as I share these stories. Some of you may have heard them before, but please allow me to share them again. I heard this first story a few weeks ago while I was driving in my car and listening to the National Public Radio, or NPR. One day in a small town in Geraldine, Alabama, a humble and kind farmer by the name of Hody Childress asked the local pharmacist if there was anyone in town who had trouble paying for their medications. Upon learning that there were many who could not afford to pay, he quietly handed her a folded $100 bill and asked her to use it to help anyone in town who could not pay for their medications. And he asked her not to tell a soul. She thought it was a one-time thing, but to her surprise, he came in on the 1st of every month for over a decade, quietly sliding a folded up $100 bill so no one could see what he was doing. He didn't want any credit or recognition. He never missed a month, and the fund continued to grow. The pharmacist estimated that he contributed about $10,000 over those years to help pay for other people's pharmacy bills. As he dealt with a chronic illness and he no longer was able to leave his home to make his monthly $100 contribution, he finally told his daughter about this mission of his and asked her to take the $100 bill and not tell anybody about it. Sadly, on January 1st of this year, at the age of 80, He passed away, and his daughter asked the pharmacist to share her father's story. And this story made the national news, and because of it, his family, friends, admirers, even recipients of the fund, and total strangers are now contributing to the fund so that this good deed will continue for years to come. So one person's small deed is now blossoming up to a tremendous fund. So, that's one example. Okay, the next story I'd like to share happened closer to home recently on Maui, and I'm sure many of you had heard it because it was on the local news, and it also made the national news, and I saw it was on USA Today. So an elderly vacationing couple from Tennessee named Dan and Sheila Kane became stranded for many hours on the road to Hana after sustaining a flat tire. Instead of making the trip via a tour bus as was recommended, and despite being discouraged by 3 people not to go on this trip, they felt they could handle it and rented a car and proceeded with this road trip. After a tight squeeze encounter with a minivan on the narrow part of the road, they realized their tire was torn. So they pulled over to a service area. In this isolated area, there was no cell phone service, and they soon discovered they also had no spare tire. So what to do? They were now stranded at around 5:30 p.m. when it's starting to get dark. They talked to a couple of people who were nice and wished them all well, but not one of them thought to make a call for them for help. Luckily for them, a state parks caretaker working nearby was taking a break when he had heard the clunk, clunk, clunk of their disabled vehicle. So Dan Kane approached this man, William Latham, for help. William Latham traveled 5 miles to make a phone call for a tow truck. He drove back, informed them, and then went back to work about 20 miles away. About 8 o'clock, he came back to check on them, and lo and behold, they were still stranded. The tow truck had not arrived, so he decided to stay there with them, talk to them, and they soon became good friends. He even invited them to spend the night at his house, but the Kanes opted to wait with their car until the tow truck came around 11:30 p.m. During this long wait, Latham, who had also called the police, made trips back home to get food and water for the Kanes. The Kanes felt like William Latham was a guardian angel who was watching out for them. They were so grateful that there are still people in this world who will go the extra mile, and they felt very blessed to have met him. In gratitude, Sheila Kane wrote a letter to Hawaii's Department of Land and Natural Resources expressing how grateful they were for Latham's kindness, how he kept them company until nearly midnight as they awaited the tow truck in the rain. Latham said, "They were an elderly couple in the middle of nowhere, and I just felt I had to be there for them." Now, this last story, please bear with me, it hits even closer to home, and it didn't make the local or national news. It's actually a personal story, my story, of how a complete stranger helped me in a time of distress and crisis. I've never really shared this story with anyone. It happened over 40 years ago, in the late 1970s, when after having been staying home with my children, I decided to go back to work. So my daughter was already in preschool, and I was able to take our son to the nursery at Fort Shafter. So I was working as a long-term substitute for a teacher on maternity leave at Pohakea Elementary in Ewa. Okay, one day while on my way home, my car suddenly stalled, and I pulled over to the side of the road near an intersection among the cane fields in Ewa. Now remember, in 1970, there were no cell phones, and Ewa was undeveloped. No houses around, everywhere, just cane fields. So what am I going to do? I had no way of contacting anyone for help. Luckily for me, a car soon pulled over, and a gentleman stopped and asked and offered his help. He informed me that he was a military helicopter mechanic. So he looked under the hood of my car, he assessed the problem, and did a temporary fix so my car would work. He told me that he could do a better fix with appropriate tools he had at home and asked that I follow him to his house in the military housing down the road. Realizing that I was kind of apprehensive about doing this, he reassured me that it would be fine since his son was in the car with him and they were on their way home. To my surprise, I felt I could trust him, and I followed him to his home. He did more tinkering with my car and told me I could now drive home without any problem, but that I would have to have it properly fixed. As I was leaving and expressing my gratitude, he told me that if his wife were ever stranded like me, he would hope that there was someone who would stop to help her, just like he did. Thanks to this complete stranger who was kind and caring, I was able to get out of a bad situation and get home safely. I share these 3 stories because they are good examples of the ultimate form of offering of fear elimination. In these stories, the 3 men stood by with suffering people, listened to their problems, and stood by them until the end. They did it because they cared about the suffering of another person, and out of empathy and kindness for a fellow human, did what they could to help them. These are exemplary stories of Dana, and I'm not sharing them to say that we all have to do exemplary deeds like this. I believe that we all do our share of big or small deeds every day in many different forms. I share these stories because it gives us hope and reassures us that there are good, kind, and caring people in this world. The common form of dana that most of us do is giving money or things to others, like charitable organizations who help disadvantaged or distressed members of our community, to organizations helping our environment or conservation efforts, to organizations working for a social cause, and even to our temples. But there is more to dana. There are other non-material offerings, such as extending kindness to friends or strangers, sharing a comforting smile, or speaking kind words to others, even extending a good morning or good day to those you don't know, opening a door for a stranger, or carrying things for someone, donating blood, volunteering in your community, school, or temple. Among them, the offering of heartfelt words is one of the basic virtues in Buddhism. Dogen, founder of the Soto School of Zen, said, quote, "Kind words have a power that can turn everything around," unquote. Just looking out among those of you present here, I know many of you here, and I recognize that there are many of you who extend dana in so many different ways. One of your young members here delivers meals once a week to the elderly in the Windward area, and also does many service projects as a member of a service organization. Hawaii Betsuing has a husband and wife team who delivered meals to the elderly for Hawaii Meals on Wheels for over 25 years. Your temple supports the Kailua Service Center events in a joint program with Windward YMCA and Daybreak Church to provide meals and snacks to homeless in the Kailua area. And Hawaii Betsuing's BWA supported Family Promises Ohana Dinner program and their recent holiday gift cards drive. These are just a few examples of how our Honganji members extend aloha and dana within our communities, and I'm sure there are many more examples of dana offerings from our members here that we're unaware of. I believe all of you here also volunteer at your temple in one or more ways, like planning and working at temple events, serving as directors for your temple board, or even serving as officers, donating and serving refreshments after the service, cleaning and maintaining your temple, participating in the service as an organist or pianist, as an MC, as a technology assistant, as a choir member, or as a sutra chanter. You all extend dana in your own ways, and you practice it often without expecting any recognition or acknowledgement. And I thank you all for that. All of your Dana actions reinforces in me what I believe is the source of our Dana actions. To me, Dana comes from a kind heart, from a heart that feels for and cares for others, from a heart that shares aloha. Dana is acts of big or small kindnesses, having empathy or sympathy for others, wanting to ease a person's discomfort or sorrow, wanting to make others feel welcomed and accepted, and letting them know that things will be okay. Dana is also rooted in our belief in interdependency. Our thoughts, words, and actions affect others, which can make a difference in someone's life. Dr. Carl Becker said at last year's Hawaii Betsuing's Bodhi Day service, quote, "Share a little kindness. Your little kindness can change someone's day," unquote. So every day, show your aloha, show you care, and share a little kindness humbly. And I have this little Charlie Brown cartoon to remind us. Okay? To make a difference in someone's life, you don't have to be brilliant, rich, beautiful, or perfect. You just have to care. Thank you for sharing this morning with me. Namo Amida Butsu. How do I turn? Okay.
Thank you, Sharon. You're a hard act to follow. I think we knew how lucky you were to have Sensei as a friend, and now we know how lucky Sensei is to have you as a friend. Thank you. Please rise for the Gatha Ondokusang. It's on the handout that you were given, and then remain standing for the Nembutsu.
permanent and must certainly pass away from our view. Yet, we are able, by realizing the oneness of life, to receive and share true peace and happiness. May the boundless and supreme light of wisdom shine within our hearts and minds and guide us to walk the path of life for the sake of all beings. In deepest gratitude, let us mindfully recite the name of Amida. Namo Amida Butsu, Namo Amida Butsu, Namo Amida Butsu, Namanda, Namanda,
Namanda. Please be seated. Dennis or Cynthia?
Good morning, everyone. There, Sharon, that was a very wonderful message. I don't know who the better speaker is, you or Dennis. But thank you, Sharon. Thank you, Reverend Barbara. Thank you, Naomi, our MC. Thank you, of course, Joy. That was beautiful playing. Thank you, Merle, for being our greeter. And thank you for Prudence for ringing the concho. Today's refreshment is being done by Team A, led by Lisa. As far as our guests, we've already met a few of Reverend Barbara's friends, but we have some junior YBA members. And Joy, can I ask you to introduce?
Yeah, just introduce themselves.
Oh.
Hi, I'm Shikiro Ohana. I am the Federation President from Idaho University.
I'm Taylor Green. I'm the Vice President, and I'm from Wawa University. I'm Alma. I'm the Federation Secretary.
Thank you. Yesterday, several of us were at the Legislative Assembly of the Honganji Orgisekai, and among other things, we had the presentation or report by the junior YBAs, and there were 4 officers, and they went up there and spoke, and I was very impressed, and I was especially impressed by Emma. I mean, here at the temple, she's so quiet, but she spoke with a lot of confidence, so that was very good. Yeah, thanks everybody for attending today's Dana Day service. The offertory, all that offerings that you did, as a custom, we will be donating that to the BWA. Next Sunday is Nirvana Day service, which will be led by Reverend Sumikawa. And we have a special guest speaker, Reverend Satoshi Tomioka of Puna, Honganji. Nirvana Day is, as I'm sure most of you know, is the memorial for Shakyamuni Buddha. I'm going to call on Cynthia to make a couple announcements.
Good morning. Well, those of you who have visited us today is a good day because it's bingo day. Okay, so we have it once a month. It's normally the second Sunday of the month. So right after you have a bite next door, we're going to start bingo probably about 10:30 or so for about a half hour. So please join us. Now, the second announcement is we found a ring. It's a very pretty ring. I don't want to show it to you too much because you have to describe it to me before we give it to you, but it's a very pretty ring, and it's been sitting here for about at least 3 weeks. So if anyone has lost any jewelry, please come and see me. And if no one claims it, someone has already asked if they could take care of it. So, so that's where it's going to be. Thank you.
Thanks, Cynthia. Actually, I forgot one guest, Sharon Harada, Lisa's mom. Yeah, welcome back. Just to remind everybody, we are having weekly meditation sessions led by Reverend Sumikawa, Thursday evenings at 5 o'clock for an hour. So if you're not already attending, you're interested, you can contact Reverend Burt. Also, Dharma adult classes will start March 11th. Last week I said March 4th, but there was evidently a conflicting date, so we moved it from March 11th, a Saturday, from 10 to 11, and it'll run for 6 weeks. Let's see. There's a planning now for the Honganji Spring Bazaar. In the years past, it was called the Taste of Honganji. But because of lack of time, it's going to be a smaller affair, so I think that's why they decided to call it a Spring Bazaar. I have a flyer. Oh. I don't think you can really see it from here, but I'll have it posted on the bulletin board, and we'll have all kind of baked goods and various foods. Kailo, of course, will be doing the takuwang and bitter melon namasu. Moilili is doing barazuki, and there's a whole bunch of other things. We're still planning it, but mark your calendar. Make sure you don't do anything else. We will not have service that day just because of the Spring Bazaar. So be sure to attend there. I'll share more information later. As I mentioned, we attended the Legislative Assembly. There was Reverend Barbara, Cynthia, Ryan, and myself. And among all the various discussions we had, sometimes a little heated, but it was a good discussion. We voted for and got a new bishop for the next few years. And the bishop-elect is Reverend Umitani from Moilili. And I think we should be very proud because if not the first temple, we were one of the first temples that he was resident minister of. So he did spend some time here. So if you have an opportunity to congratulate him, please do. There'll be kind of a transition period. He becomes effective Bishop July 1. Okay. If I can ask Reverend Barbara to talk on two things, the interfaith project and passport.
I can bring my passport with me, but okay. Okay, very brief. We have the passport table outside, so you can have the stamp placed under our temple, and I need to initial it, so I'll try to do that, quickly. The other thing, this passport is to encourage people to visit here, and from other temples, to go to the headquarters, to go to the Buddhist Study Center, Moilili, and Jikoen. So there's 6 organizations or temples involved, and you get to learn more about the other temples. The other interfaith situation, it's good for us to be visible by participating in community activities. And this is with other interfaith temples. The next one is being organized by the LDS Church. There's going to be like a cleanup of, I don't remember the name, Hamakua Marsh, yeah. So we're trying to get more details, but they said, when I asked, they said it's not like really steep terrain, it's fairly level, and they're going to provide tools to help to clean it up. And that's on February the 25th, I believe. And just yesterday, I got an email. They're having the different ministers or leaders are having a breakfast, an interfaith breakfast, and that's tomorrow morning. And I thought, should I go? You know, but it's good for Windward to be represented. So, and the different faiths there is the Muslim faith. I think they must be here. And of course, the LDS Church, many of them are involved, and Baha'i, and I don't have the list with me, but it's truly going to be a nice way for everybody to come together on an interfaith basis and to get to know one another. So, yeah. If you can participate in that cleanup when we get more details, that would be really great.
Yeah, so hopefully next week I'll have all the final details, and we'll do a sign up at that time. Regarding the passport, those of us that were at the Legislative Assembly, we got stamps for Betsuing and also from headquarters. So we're on our way. Okay, any other announcements? If not, can we recite the words of thanksgiving? Can be found on page 126 of the Red Service Book. And I'm sure a lot of you already know it by heart. We are truly grateful for this wonderful food, a gift of life. May we share its benefits with all beings. As we partake of this food, let us remember Amida Buddha's compassion, which surrounds all people and all forms of life. Namo Amida Butsu. Itadakimasu. Thank you very much.